Welcome to Life Stories, where we share powerful, personal journeys of growth, resilience, and self-discovery. Today, I want to take you on a journey of one woman's battle with self-acceptance. As she learns to embrace her true self, flaws and all, from a painful family rejection to finding the courage to stop hiding. This is a story of bravery, transformation, and healing. If you're ready to be inspired, join me in today's story. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to start the journey with us today. I had always known that my family valued appearances above all else. But I never realized just how far they would go until I saw that gold-embossed envelope in my mailbox. The morning sun caught it just right. And there it was, peeking out from behind a stack of bills and flyers. Catching my eye instantly, my heart skipped a beat. I knew what it was before even opening it. It was my sister Emily's wedding invitation. My fingers trembled as I pulled it from the pile. The thick, textured paper felt luxurious in my hands. And as I slid my finger under the seal, a small thrill ran through me. There it was, the formal invitation. A response card, and a detailed itinerary. But what caught my attention, and what caused the wave of unease to rise within me, was the elegant calligraphy on the front. Miss Julia Matthews, my name, written so beautifully. But the joy I expected to feel quickly turned to confusion as I flipped through the cards. I didn't see what I was hoping for. The words, bridal party, were absent. I wasn't listed as a bridesmaid. I wasn't even a maid of honor. Just a regular guest. My stomach dropped. Emily's college roommate and Dad's business associates would have a more significant role than I did. How had this happened? I had spent so many nights with Emily, giggling about our childhood, about our shared dreams, and yes, about her wedding. The plans we made together seemed like they were built on a foundation of sisterhood. Just 3 months ago, we had shared wine on my balcony, talking about how everything would be perfect. "We'll have to find you the perfect bridesmaid dress," she had said, squeezing my hand. "Sisters forever." I could still hear her voice echo those words in my mind. And now they seemed hollow. The smile that had once been so bright faltered as I scanned the weekend itinerary, which included professional photography sessions. But once again, my name was nowhere near the bridal party photos. The bride, Emily, with her parents. The groom, Jake, with his family. But not me. Not a word about being in any photos. Not even as part of the family. My younger brother Noah was there. But not me. Something inside me shifted. This wasn't just about a wedding, it was about something deeper. Something painful. I closed my eyes and let the memories flood back. The memories of our childhood bedroom. Of twin beds with matching floral comforters. Of glowing stars on the ceiling during those long nights when our parents fought. I remember those nights when Dad's voice would boom through the walls. And Mom would sob quietly in the other room. Emily would crawl into my bed and pull the covers over us, her small hand gripping mine. "I'll always protect you," she had promised. And she did. I believed her. I reached for my phone, feeling an unsettling wave of fear and anger mixed together. My hands shook as I scrolled to Emily's contact. I had no idea what I was about to say. But I had to say something. I needed an explanation. I rehearsed calm, rational words in my head. It took 3 attempts to finally press the call button. "Julia." Her voice was warm but guarded when she answered. "Hey, Em," I said, my voice faltering slightly. "I just got the wedding invitation." A silence followed, thick and uncomfortable. I gave her a moment to explain herself. But she didn't. My heart raced as I continued. "I noticed I'm not listed in the wedding party or family photos." The words sounded foreign in my mouth, like I was speaking someone else's truth. But it was mine. There was a long pause. And then, just as I thought she was going to explain, she hesitated. I could hear Jake's voice in the background, but I couldn't make out the words. Then Emily spoke again, her voice quieter now, as if she were trying to hide behind something. "We decided to keep the wedding party small." I froze. "Jake wanted Noah as a groomsman," I said, my voice steady even though my heart was thundering in my chest. I thought I'd be standing with you. You said, sisters forever, when we talked about your wedding. Another pause. Longer this time. Then Emily's voice dropped to a whisper. Julia, please understand, we're going for a really soft, minimalist aesthetic. And your birthmark, it might kind of stand out. The words hit me like a physical blow. My hand instinctively went to my left cheek, tracing the edges of the port wine stain that covered a third of my face. I could feel it throb. Not from the physical pain, but from the emotional toll it was taking. As if to make it better, she added, and in the photos, Jake's family is very particular about appearances. I didn't respond. The phone call ended, but the weight of her words stayed with me. The relief I had hoped for when I called her was nowhere to be found. Instead, all I could feel was the sting of rejection. Not just from Emily, but from my entire family. I didn't know what to do after I hung up the phone. My mind was a mess of confusion and hurt. And my body felt heavy. Like I was carrying a weight I wasn't meant to bear. I drove to my parents' house. The place that used to feel like home. Where the smell of cinnamon tea would comfort me. And the warmth of familiar voices would make everything feel okay. But today, as I pulled into the driveway, it felt different, like walking into a trap. Mom was the first to speak as soon as I walked through the door. Did you speak to Emily? Her tone was neutral, but I could tell she was waiting for something. I nodded, feeling the weight of the conversation pressing on my chest. I settled at the kitchen table, trying to hide the trembling in my hands. Did you know? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Mom busied herself with the kettle, as if she didn't know exactly what I was asking. You know how important appearances are to Jake's family, she said dismissively, not even looking up from her task. Dad, who was reading the newspaper, lowered it just enough to glance at me over the top. Jake's father is on the hospital board with half the town's elite. You know how things are. Julia, I felt my heart drop. There it was, the truth. My sister's wedding wasn't about family or love. It was about appearances, about what Jake's family would think, about fitting into a picture-perfect narrative that didn't include me. So, you agree with her? I asked, my voice thick with disbelief. It was a question I had hoped I wouldn't have to ask. But the words slipped out before I could stop them. Mom set a mug of tea in front of me, her eyes avoiding mine. Sometimes we have to accept what's best for the event, not for ourselves, she said quietly. The tea sat between us, untouched. The familiar warmth of the kitchen, the comfort of Mom's cinnamon tea, felt like it belonged to someone else now. It didn't belong to the girl I was. The girl who had spent her entire life trying to feel accepted for who she was. Not who others wanted her to be. I stared at my mother. The woman who had once told me that my birthmark was a beauty mark. That it made me special. Now, she was telling me to accept being erased. To accept that I wasn't good enough to be part of my own sister's wedding because of something I couldn't control. My face. I stood up abruptly, the tears welling up in my eyes before I could stop them. I couldn't stay here, not in this house where my worth had always been measured by the approval of others. I left without another word. Without drinking the tea, without waiting for any further explanation. My car was parked at the end of the driveway, just out of sight of the house. As soon as I got in, I let the tears come. They slid down my cheeks, both the marked and unmarked skin equally wet with grief. I couldn't understand how this had happened, how the family that had always told me they loved me, flaws and all, could turn their backs on me when I needed them the most. What would you do if your most trusted family member asked you to hide a part of yourself for their perfect day? The question echoed in my mind, and I already knew the answer would change everything. It would change me. As I drove away, I wiped my face on the sleeve of my jacket. But the relief I thought would follow didn't come. Instead, I felt a quiet, unsettling sense of finality. Something had shifted, and there was no going back. My phone buzzed, breaking the silence in the car. It was a notification from Emily. She had added me to a Pinterest board titled, Flawless Family Photos. I knew I shouldn't look, but my curiosity was stronger than my resolve. I opened it, and there, In front of me was a collection of pictures of perfectly coordinated families. Every face was flawless. Every smile was symmetrical. Not a single visible difference among them. I set the phone down. My hands numb. The ache in my chest growing. I thought of the times Emily had once defended me. Standing up for me when others pointed at my birthmark. Calling it a flaw. I could still hear her words. Small but fierce. Nothing's wrong with her. God just loved her enough to give her an extra brushstroke. But where was that Emily now? My phone buzzed again. It was a message from Emma. One of Emily's bridesmaids. Just finished another makeup trial. Your sister is obsessed with everything looking perfect. The makeup artist asked about coverage options for imperfections 3 times now. You okay? I stared at the message. My heart sinking further. Coverage options. Imperfections. Those words. They stung more than I could have imagined. And as I walked to the bathroom, I stood before the mirror. Staring at my face. At my birthmark. The one I had hidden for so long. It wasn't just a mark on my skin. It was a part of me. It had shaped my life in ways I couldn't explain. It was a part of the story I had tried to erase. Tried to make disappear for the sake of others. And now, it felt like it was all coming back to me. In a rush of emotions I wasn't prepared to face. I ran my fingers over it, tracing the edges, and whispered to my reflection. This is me, all of me. And for the first time in my life, I didn't want to hide it anymore. The weight of everything I had just experienced, of the words Emily had said to me, lingered in the air long after I put the phone down. I didn't know what to do. My family, the people who were supposed to support me, had pushed me aside. And for what? Because I wasn't perfect enough for their ideal version of a family? I spent the next few hours walking aimlessly around my apartment, trying to gather my thoughts. I couldn't stop thinking about that Pinterest board Emily had added me to. Flawless family photos. I couldn't shake the haunting image of those perfect faces. The symmetry, the polished smiles, the whole thing felt suffocating. It was as if the world was telling me that my birthmark, the thing that had been a part of me my entire life, was a flaw that had to be hidden. But was that true? Was my birthmark truly a flaw? Or was it simply a difference? A part of me that I had been taught to feel ashamed of? The question haunted me. It wasn't just about a wedding anymore. It wasn't about my sister, or my parents, or anyone else in my family. It was about me, about how I had spent my whole life trying to minimize myself, to make myself smaller, to fit into the mold that others had created for me. I had always thought that if I just hid enough, if I made myself invisible enough, I would finally belong. But the truth was, I didn't belong in that mold. And I didn't need to. I looked in the mirror again. This time with a different kind of gaze. I wasn't looking at my birthmark with shame anymore. I was looking at it with acceptance. It wasn't just part of my face. It was part of my story. A story that I had spent so long trying to rewrite. Trying to make fit into someone else's narrative. I took a deep breath and grabbed my phone. I didn't know what I was going to say yet. But I knew I had to say something. I had to share my truth. Not just with my family, but with the world. I had been hiding for far too long. My thumb hovered over the screen as I scrolled through my contacts. I thought about calling Emily. About confronting her again. But what was the point? The conversation would be the same. She would apologize. And then the cycle would continue. I didn't need her apology anymore. What I needed was for her to see me. Not just the parts of me that fit into her perfect picture, but all of me. I started typing. I know you're busy with the wedding. But I can't stay silent anymore. I can't keep hiding for the sake of appearances. This is me. My birthmark isn't a flaw. It's a part of who I am. And I won't apologize for it anymore. As I hit send, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. I wasn't sure what would happen next. Maybe Emily wouldn't understand. Maybe my parents would still be disappointed. But I was done pretending. I was done hiding. The next morning, I woke up to a flood of notifications. The post I had shared about my birthmark, about my decision to stop hiding, had gone viral. I hadn't expected it. I hadn't expected anyone to even care. But they did. Strangers, people who had never met me, were sharing their own stories of rejection, of feeling like they weren't good enough because of something they couldn't control. I sat there, staring at my phone, feeling overwhelmed. For the first time, I felt like I wasn't alone. Like I wasn't the only one who had ever struggled with feeling invisible. And then, something unexpected happened. Emily texted me. "I saw your post. I never meant to hurt you. I'm sorry." For a moment, I just stared at the screen, unsure how to respond. Part of me wanted to forgive her. Part of me wanted to tell her everything I had been holding in for so long. But I wasn't ready yet. Not now. Not after everything. I set the phone down and stood up. There was a new sense of strength inside me. A new sense of clarity. I wasn't defined by my family's expectations. I wasn't defined by anyone's idea of who I should be. I was defined by me. And that was enough. I opened the door to my apartment and stepped outside, feeling the crisp air on my skin. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I had to hide. I didn't feel like I had to shrink to fit into anyone's idea of what I should be. I was me, completely, unapologetically, and fully myself. And for the first time in my life, that felt like freedom. As I walked through the streets, I smiled to myself. I had made the decision to stop hiding, to stop accommodating the discomfort my appearance caused others. And in doing so, I had found something I hadn't even known I was looking for, myself. As the days went by, I continued to live my truth, unshaken by the judgments and expectations that once weighed me down. The support from strangers, from people who shared their own stories of struggle and acceptance, gave me a sense of community I had never known before. The comments, the messages, the kindness, they helped me heal, piece by piece. But the real breakthrough came when I looked in the mirror each day and saw not a flaw, but a part of my story, a part of what made me who I am. When my family reached out, I listened, but I no longer felt the need to explain myself. I had stopped seeking their approval because I had found something far more valuable, my own self-acceptance. My birthmark was no longer something to hide or apologize for, it was simply me. A part of the tapestry of my life. Emily and I had our moments of understanding. But it wasn't the apology that mattered. It was the realization that true connection begins when we stop hiding and start embracing ourselves, flaws and all. And with that, I moved forward, not as the woman my family thought I should be, but as the woman I was always meant to be. So, as I stand here today, in front of a crowd, leading a workshop on self-acceptance, I know I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I smile at the people who have come to hear my story and share theirs. This is my life now, a life of truth, of bravery, and of the courage to be seen. Thank you for following my journey. If you want to hear more life stories and learn from others, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned for more inspiring stories and personal experiences.